Towards the end of season 5, Greg House pulled me aside and said, "Oh, by the way, you know, I hear there may be an episode about a video game designer coming up at the beginning of next season. Maybe it's something we should talk about."
Sarah and Liz, the two writers of this episode, told me that they were going to do an episode that took place inside of a video game. So without a script available, we pinned down the script for the game. What was it going to be called? What was the world it was set in? And we got a one-sentence line from the writers saying that it was going to be called Savagescape.
We basically knew from the beginning we were going to be given 6 minutes of the show, which I believe is almost unheard of for producers of House to turn over that much time to a visual effects house and say, "Here, have fun."
Knowing how much time video games and animated movies get to prepare, we wanted to get out in front of this particular project with as much preparation as possible. So we've had months to be able to plan it.
There were 3 sequences that we had to do. Obviously, we weren't trying to design a sort of endless game with endless levels. We were contained, but we were trying to pull something off in 4 months that, in reality, would usually be about 4 years.
Sarah and Liz, the writers, came up with this idea of a video game, and it just grew. And it was nice that it was at the beginning of the year and they came up with the idea early enough, because we took weeks and weeks to prep all that stuff. But the stories all come from the characters and figuring out who this character is, who this guy who's designing these games are, and what makes him tick. So you build that, and then you go, where do we have an opportunity to have some fun with the special effects? And, you know, they're there, but they're there within a character moment.
We said, well, we're thinking the game is sort of dystopian, you know, mutant, animal, something or other, and we're not really sure. But they wanted big guns. That was sort of their overriding thing, is we want to have big guns.
Having done a lot of visual effects work in my previous experiences, I wanted to get right on top of getting some visualizations of the ideas and start to design the characters.
Greg suggested that we get a concept artist in. So the desire for a concept artist led us to a gentleman named Christian Schur, who I had known of and who everybody saw his work and said, yes, this is the guy. And as little bits of the story started to fall together, Christian started to do some sketching.
Christian is one of the most renowned conceptual visualization futurists there is out there. And he was a great get for us because we were able to give him very little information and be able to have him come back with some real gifts.
With Alon, we sat around a table, we looked at the art. I said, what would be the next step in your eyes? He goes, now that we have the concept art, we have to get it approved by Greg. We then have to go to Rodrigo and find out what the particulars are.
When they approach me, I think it's a great opportunity to do a nice piece that is quite different than what we do every day. But it's also scary for the short amount of time that we had, and like all the infrastructure that we got to put in place to make it happen.
Rodrigo came to me and said, you need to hire a modeler or two, a rigger, a few animators, and we mapped out the schedule.
We start with the concept art, and from that, you gotta build every single piece from scratch. So if you have a character, you gotta build like if it was a puppet.
We landed on 3 main mutant animal human characters, which was the lizard man, Vince, who's a snow leopard, and Sniper Chimp.
So we started from just simple drawings to actually designing them in the computer.
Wireframes are the standard building block in CG. So a wireframe is just like a group of triangles that you put together to make a shape, and that shape can become really complex, like a character. And so you usually start with the wireframe, and then the modeler builds the character, and you work on top of that, and you modify it. Then the texture artist texture it, and then you start to go detail, detail, detail after the texture. Then you go for shader. Shader is, okay, when the light touches its skin, how it's gonna react. It's gonna reflect, it's gonna absorb, how much, what color. So that's a shader artist. When we got like the first animation tests of the characters, and we start to see, okay, it's working. That was like a big relief. And at the same time, okay, now we just gotta finish, which is a lot.
There were a lot of sort of things that were working at the same time in order to pull this off. In terms of environments, we sort of decided to make all the environments sort of based on what we could find at the hospital, just aging them, distorting them, changing them around, but basically keeping them within that mode.
And it was quite complex environment.
We wanted to base the video game architecture off of our own hospital. So if you see here, the ER hospital hallway, we turned into the feeding area, and it lines up pretty much architecturally the same. Here we have our lobby of our hospital, Princeton, Plainsboro, and you can see that the detail and the shape of it is still here, that if you were to overlay these two images, they would architecturally have elements that are the same.
Of the characters, we did a motion capture session where we had stunt people geared up with motion capture suits, and we were able to essentially pantomime out the different sequences.
These bodysuits have sensors that correlate to the computer. So we needed to get our stunt people to create movements that would be similar to the characters. Action. It's about exaggerating some of their movements so that they register on the sensors. It's about getting the physicality and the gait of the characters.
There you go.
That's much better.
We got stunt guys that either had acrobatic or gymnast experience so that they could be agile and understand the pantomiming of their body. Action. The stunt actors are not the actual actors that will be playing these characters. We're using their physicality in order to create these animal hybrid chimps and lizards.
Can you do that faster now? Come back.
We had Heather, who played the chimp, doing a lot of frantic movement and jumping up in boxes. We built a monkey bar so that we could have her swinging. I think normally this kind of thing is done in a studio where they have more control and the environment is perfect. And part of why we brought it here today was because this area does mimic parts of where we are shooting the story. We've designed the sets to be similar to our sets here so that there's a spatial match. It's a blast to have all this equipment and have all these guys here and being able to do something that I personally have never really done specifically like this before.
Lucky for you, I brought the Mega Blaster.
So in terms of it being cool, it's pretty great.
1, 2, 3.
Where's that cover fire? Vince, where are you? Mega Blaster, dude! Mega Blaster!
We did this voiceover session where we got our actors to read the lines that were in the script.
Yeah! What the hell? Got it! Oh, I can't get him off of me!
We shot video of that, and basically using that, we were able to get their mouth movements and their facial expressions, which we were then able to incorporate into the rest of the animation of the characters.
2 boxes of grenades in there. It's our only chance of getting out.
Vince, that place is a death trap.
Lucky for you.
So we got in the car. I saw some of the storyboards before we started shooting it and saw this crazy lizard character with the biggest gun I ever saw and thought that how's that gonna work? Usually I'm holding a notebook or a stethoscope or a legal brief, so it's not too often that I get a big machine gun. Unfortunately, I was a lizard.
It was really funny because it was like fighting and dodging things and dodging big bats.
Blueprints of the hospital, of the set, and we built our lab around those blueprints.
We put a blueprint of the lobby underneath where we put the shark tank and the giant nest, which is traditionally the nurse's station. We wanted to make sure that every person on the show understood how this world tied together, because everybody had to learn a new geography and understand how these elements all connected.
So we can transform from the reality to the game. For that shot, they were...
Vince, relax. It's Dr. Foreman.
At the end of the sequence, we knew that when he was hallucinating, Olivia and Omar were going to be revealed, so we needed to get scans of them so that our CG characters would look like them.
I went down to an actual video game place where they design video games. And I guess it was a head scan, like a 3D thing. You sit in this chair and they place, probes on your head, and I guess it just takes pictures.
We built his face based on those scans. And that was pretty cool because we kind of like deformed him a lot, like forming with like big scars and all like etched out. And 13 looked a little bit like a snake woman.
We had brats, which are these little bat-like creatures that attack. We had the big bird who appears at the end, all of which needed to sort of be developed from scratch, just from someone's crazy ideas.
When you see...
We're looking forward for the next, like, effects-heavy episode, whatever that will be.